Hey everyone, in the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to show you and describe to you the journey that we've had in Dynatrace to understand why the tech isn't really the problem, but actually influence is. So, as a DevRel, I turn up at conferences and I deliver talks on technical topics, and the audience think, yeah, that's cool, that's awesome, I want to go and try it. As techies, we like to go away and take what we've been told and try it ourselves and convince ourselves that it's true. But I realized that we couldn't actually do that. There was no way that we had to provide you with any of that beyond, a GitHub README. So I built something. It was all the stuff that you expect. It was end-to-end tested. It was fully open source. It was cloud native. It was accessible to everyone. All the good stuff. It runs locally and on demand. It had its own, every repo, every scenario had its own GitHub repository with its own documentation website. It was great. I mean, it did exactly what we needed it to do. So I took that and I thought I'd get this. A round of applause, a standing ovation. Awesome job, Adam. Well done. We'll use it straight away. What I actually got was nothing. I mean, people just didn't get it. They didn't understand what it was, why we built it. And I really struggled to get any buy-in whatsoever. So this is the story, and hopefully I can give you some lessons learned as to what I've found works now that we are past that and the solution has actually been adopted. So here, in other words, is how I learned to sell, in inverted commas, my ideas and get people on board with my idea. So first off, give yourself a bit of space. Take a breath. I mean, as techies, we have this feeling that if I build something cool, people are just going to get it, they're going to understand, and they're going to adopt it. It's the if they build it, they will come. And I'm sorry to say, they don't. I mean, no one cares. Or, put another way, no one cares as much as you. Accept it, breathe in, breathe out, move on. It's time to actually start convincing them that they should care. But as I say, it's not just about the tech. You must tie tech to business problems. And this is where it starts getting a bit salesy. And to do that, you've got to really think about, well, what business challenge are we actually solving here? Why does this tech exist? Yes, the tech might be cool, it might be all of that. But what business problem are we trying to solve? How is it going to benefit the people who pay our salaries? What is the pain or blocker in your role? So this is what I had to do. I had to think, well, why have I built it? And I not only think it, because I know that, obviously, but I have to elicit that. I have to be able to explain, as I just did, why we built the thing we built. So what was it in your role that made you build or design this process? And then, and this is the key part, find other people in your organization, in other teams, other departments, other roles that have that same or an adjacent blocker. Because if you can build that team, you're going to be in a much stronger position. If you can't find others that share the same pain, I'll be honest, you're going to struggle with buy-in. Because what that says is it's not a big enough problem for the business to care. I mean, yes, it's a problem for you and your team. Absolutely. I'm not minimizing that, but it's not a big enough problem for it to be prioritized. So you are going to struggle with buy-in. Don't jump the gun. Be patient. Know your time, because there will be discussions and things happening in your organization that you're not even aware of. So a no today doesn't necessarily mean it's a no because it's a bad idea or bad tech, but just be patient. I mean, it is going to take time. So what was my story? I mean, as I say, I built this thing and I wasn't getting much traction. My team that I built started at Perform 2025. Perform 2025 is Dynatrace's flagship conference, happens every year in Vegas. It's a big deal. I started walking around the floor talking to people that I thought would care about this thing, and nothing, until one guy said, oh yeah, I kind of get that, and actually that's quite a good idea. I understand. And he then went and got somebody else. and then that person went and got somebody else. And after about 25 minutes, I had me plus 5 other people in a semicircle all saying, yeah, we share roughly the same problem. Let's collaborate and work on it. But I'll interject there with something about change, because don't underestimate inertia. People don't like change. They don't like changing the way they're working, especially if they were the ones that suggested originally that you work in that way. Don't underestimate inertia and how long things are going to take. And you will be displacing something with your idea. Even if that is just a manual process or a spreadsheet, you are going to be changing something about the way somebody works. So respect that. Give it time. Give the people time to relax and understand what is happening and that it's not a threat to them. So give it a bit more time. Know what not to introduce as well. And I was guilty of this. I was the guy always saying, yeah, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. Every month I was coming up with a new idea. And it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. If you bring up too many ideas, when you do have a really good one that they should listen to, they're not going to listen because they've heard it before. So know what not to introduce. Pick your moment. And as I say, some of the things I just said about prioritization and finding others in the organization, that's going to help you to understand what you shouldn't you just let those things die and wither on the vine. Now, the good thing, not really the good thing, becoming a salesperson. What do I mean? Well, it's actually just a shift in mindset. That's all it is. I'm not selling anything. No one's ever paid me for this system. I don't want to be a salesperson. But for me, the word sales, I think of it in my head as convincing and supporting. And don't forget that time is money. So if you're asking someone for time, that's really, you're trying to sell them an idea. You're trying to convince them of something. So if that's a little bit more palatable to you, then by all means, convince yourself of that language. Now, pretend that your idea, the thing that you've made, the process that you've come up with, whatever, pretend it's for sale. And pretend that you're the prospect. Pretend that someone else is trying to convince you to buy or support your thing. What is it that's going to make you part with your time or your support or your money? What is that magic thing? What would make you actually take that risk on that person? But also be aware of ego, both your ego and your competitors. Remember, because you've come up with the thing, you're proud of it. I mean, that's just natural. But also your competitors, the people who have other ways of doing your thing, or the people who have come up with the process before, they are now your sales competitors. Try and get them on side. Make allies and not adversaries. So try and make this a friendly, we're trying to improve together as a team and not, your way is wrong, because that never works. Try and anticipate rejection. Again, play devil's advocate. Think from the other side. What are people going to say? And then you, against your idea or your project or your tool, and then either improve the tech or improve the narrative. But the key thing here is be honest. Don't try and say it doesn't. Their concerns don't matter or they don't exist. Be honest. Say, yeah, this thing isn't designed for that, or no, it won't do that, or we can't support it in that way, because that again builds trust. That you're not just gonna tell them what they want to hear. Now, how do we build influence in the organization? Now that we've got our team together, how do we actually go as a team to build influence to get this tool or this process across the line? As I've said, you build a network, you build a team. Without that, you're not really going to go very far, unless, of course, you're the shot caller, in which case you're probably not watching this because you can just mandate that things are happening. Now, tenure might matter in your organization. It might not matter at all. You might be somewhere on that spectrum. But you can hack it by leveraging the teams, the other people on your team, their tenure and their connections. So if someone on the team has been around longer or knows more influential people, ask them to reach out. Nothing wrong with that. This is one I wish, even now, I wish you can't do this enough. You cannot spend too much time listening, really listening to people's problems, to people's objections, and to their hopes for your tool or your project or whatever it is. As techies, we have this bias to action. Oh yeah, software can solve this. I can write this thing. Try and temper that. Try and sit back and think, okay, I'm going to really listen and understand the problem to its fullest extent, then I'm going to act. And I work remotely, as you can see, but as much as it's a fact, face-to-face, the conversations meander and move in a certain way that they just don't on camera or on Zoom calls. Conversations meander and you find things out, so try and be face-to-face. I doubt I would have had the success building that team if it wasn't for being at Perform and it wasn't for being face-to-face and just having that conversation face-to-face. So it is actually really important. Try to show people things and don't just tell them that this is the way it should be. People don't like being told what to do, unsurprisingly. Live demos, I mean, we're techies, we like to do it. We like to prove to ourselves that we can do it. So give people runnable code, give them reference code, and give them documentation. And actually, that's so important that I'm going to put it twice. Give them documentation. You can have the best thing in the world, but if it's poorly documented, nobody's going to use it, because the minute they get stuck, they're on their own. Now, try and think in terms of small pebbles and not large rocks. What I mean is break the problems down into small chunks and then deliver those chunks. It's not only a good strategy, but also it builds trust. If I tell you I'm going to do these 2 little things and I do actually do them, you then trust me next time. Whereas if I try and tackle on one massive thing and fail, you just think, well, Adam doesn't do what he says. I'm not going to give him another chance. So really try and drill down to that small detail. It will build trust, and trust is the name of the game here. Go gently. Try not to force anything. Offer solutions. Even if you really want to say, if you just do this, it will make your life better. Don't. People don't like to be forced to do things. So gently take them, work to their time scale. And on the tool, on the tech itself, make it as simple as possible, but don't shy away from complexity. Make it as complex as is necessary to be. And be honest and upfront about, yes, it is complicated. It is going to take more learning. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily. The worst thing is when people try to convince you that it's not complicated or you don't need to learn it. That becomes, now you sound like a salesperson. So as simple as possible, but as complex as necessary, and be honest about the choices that you've made when you're designing your process. Now, if you do get an early adopter, support them with everything you have, because they are taking a risk on you and the tool. They're putting their neck on the line because they were the ones that said yes to you, so they're worth your support. In summary, and to recap, the tech is an important part. I'm not getting away from that. I'm not minimizing that. But it is a small part. Influence is a much greater problem to solve, to actually get your tool, your thing, across the line. Be patient. All of this is going to take time. We are still working through it. We've had the next proof of this at a conference just a couple of weeks ago, and the next big one is Perform 2026. So I've had the solution for 2 or 3 years. And it's been about a year since we really started getting this off the ground until we're just, getting the ball rolling. This takes time. Offer, don't force. People don't like to be told what to do. Walk with them on the journey. Think of who you need to influence, and then think of who you need on your team when you go back to work after this video, and start building your team. Start building those allies. And then start your internal sales campaign. So good luck with the project. It's time to put on your tie and start selling internally. And remember, selling doesn't really mean selling. Now, if you want to try what we built, what I've been talking about here, you can follow that GitHub link. It's going to take you to a listing. Every single repository is a different topic, from AI to observability to OpenTelemetry. And in the spirit of being open, raise a GitHub issue if something doesn't work or you see an improvement. We are willing and ready for feedback. Thanks so much for your time, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.